Welcome to Confidently Speaking, the podcast that'll get you to fall in love with your own version of English.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Very good morning, afternoon, or evening, depending on where you guys are in the world. Welcome to Confidently Speaking, which is now in its third episode. Hope you guys have enjoyed the previous episodes. And hey, today, just like you saw in the title, we're going to be talking about some tips that will get you to speak like a pro. Now, before we talk about that, let's go ahead and focus on a couple of announcements. The very first one is that, I've been working with Elena Mutanono, who is a very respected course creator in the ELT or English language teaching area. And I've been working with one of her courses. It was a challenge on how to create an audio course that we could provide our students, right? So I've been working on it, and the one I have created for you is about pronunciation, but more specifically, it's 10 days to overcoming the 10 most common pronunciation problems for Spanish speakers. Right? So if you happen to speak Spanish, this course is going to be for you. If you have been speaking English for quite some time or studying English for a long time and you haven't yet achieved the level that you feel comfortable with, well, this course is going to be specifically for you. So if you aren't following me on my social media, at English with Frank, all lowercase, at English with Frank, on TikTok, on Instagram as well. And of course, here in the podcast, I'll let you know when it's available. Go ahead and do so. Follow me because, hey, that's where you'll find all the information regarding this course. So thank you very much for that. And let's go ahead and get to the meat, the substance of this episode's content, right? It's just like I said before, speaking like a pro, a couple of tips on what we can do. So let's go ahead and get started. Now, when we talk about speaking, we need to talk about accuracy and fluency. These are two concepts that all English learners have to deal with. Now, the latter, fluency, can be defined, of course, as the flow with which you express your ideas. When a person becomes fluent, they feel comfortable speaking. They don't hesitate too long or make pauses. A few grammar mistakes may appear, but hey, they don't hinder or they don't pose as an obstacle for communication. Accuracy, on the other hand, is the skill of using grammar, vocabulary, and pronunciation correctly, which means making very few mistakes. Now, of course, a well-rounded speaker, somebody who is already an advanced user of the language, will be both accurate and fluent. But this definitely takes a lot of time and, of course, a lot of commitment to language learning. So what we're going to be focusing on in today's episode is improving accuracy in speaking, right? And the question that should be asked here is, what should we do to make fewer mistakes in oral communication? Now, for sure, a lot of people learning English know the feeling where, they can do grammar exercises perfectly well on paper, but once they start speaking, they can't apply the rules they know. For example, you know very well how to structure conditional sentences, but still keep making mistakes while talking to somebody or giving a speech. Does it mean you need to buy another grammar book and study it? No, of course not. Not at all. Because right here, we have the hints and the tips on how to improve your accuracy while speaking. So bear with me. Tip number 1, you need to relax, but be attentive. Listen, it's very comforting to realize that everyone, literally everyone, including native speakers, makes mistakes. So just relax. Your language doesn't need to be perfect. And in all honesty and probability, it will never be perfect. But hey, that's totally okay. I don't think anybody's English is perfect, right? So that's why it's totally okay. Just don't take it as an excuse not to strive for improvement. You need to start trying to be more attentive. If you notice you've just made a mistake, go ahead and correct it. Just simply correct it. Hey, nobody will frown upon it. Nobody's going to be like, oh, this person made a mistake. What a fool, right? No, of course not. After some time of observing yourself speaking, you can make a list of your most frequent mistakes and put down the correct phrases or the chunks of grammar on paper, right? Not the mistakes per se, but only the correct versions. You can place them somewhere visible and revise them as often as possible. Read them out loud, since hearing yourself saying the correct structures will help you use them more spontaneously in real-life situations. Most importantly, you need to remind yourself of this universal truth. You learn through making mistakes, and this applies to foreign language and everything else in life, right? So, hey, be okay with making mistakes. Just don't take it as an excuse to stay where you're at in terms of your level. Right? Tip number 2, you need to slow down. And this might seem like a controversial piece of advice because many people think that being fluent means speaking quickly. But hey, the problem is when they apply this strategy, particularly when they are communicative and they have a wide range of vocabulary, but they still make a lot of mistakes. So, people think that just speeding up will kind of cover or hide the fact that your grammar is still, not quite there yet. But see, the problem is if you speed up your speech and, you try to cover your grammatical mistakes, you're actually making your speech that much more difficult to be understood, right? So, it's unreasonable, of course, to think for a long time before saying things out loud, because of the fear of making a mistake or a desire to be totally sure about what you're going to say. But hey, the best solution is, of course, to keep a balance. Just make it not too fast and at the same time, not too slow, right? Because it's okay to slow down, but what's not okay is something like this. Like you want to say something, but it's actually weird to wait that long to say the word something, right? So aim for a balance. Not too fast, not too slow. Now let's go to tip number 3. Focus on pronunciation. When people define accuracy, they usually think of correct grammar and the right vocabulary use. However, pronunciation is also crucial for effective error-free communication. There are a lot of students who, in many situations, would like to use a word that they know the meaning of, but they have no idea how to pronounce. If this sounds familiar to you, no, there's no way around it. You need to improve your phonetics, your pronunciation. It will give you much more confidence while speaking and at the same time result in fewer mistakes overall. So, hey, remember that right here we're not talking about accent, right? I actually believe that accents are beautiful, especially non-native accents, right? Because they add this spark, this spice to the language. So, hey, accents are perfectly fine. However, if your speech is unclear, then that means you need to work on your pronunciation, right? Not on your accent. Keep your accent. Just don't let it get in the way of clear communication, right? That's the thing. Tip number 4, we need to read and listen. Read and listen to authentic materials like magazines, online articles, books, vlogs, podcasts, such as, Confidently Speaking, radio, films, and TV series. Hey, this way you will expose yourself to more language input. Again, expose yourself to more language input. When you read an article or a book, I need you to pay attention to particular grammatical structures and then analyze how they are used and why. You may also want to have a notebook, in which you note down all the important sentences from things that you read, right? The sentences that you thought were interesting, the phrasing of an idea, vocabulary that you found, right? Remember also that you need to say them out loud because pronunciation is crucial, and learning the right pronunciation of a word is crucial to learn whole chunks, right? This is another thing. Vocabulary in isolation is, helpful, but not as helpful as learning whole chunks. We call this the lexical approach, right? And you should focus on learning sentence stems, which are sentences that will allow you to express yourself just by changing a couple of words inside of them. And, they will provide a lot of, first of all, confidence in you saying them because you already know most of a phrase, right? So you can say it automatically, and you just modify a couple of words to, suit the context and the situation in which you're at. So try to learn whole chunks, not words in isolation. If, of course, you listen to a podcast or watch a film, you can look out for new vocabulary and examples of good pronunciation, right? And the grammar that they're using as well and how they're using that grammar. As you're watching, you stop the video or the recording and write the things down before you forget them. Alrighty, so tip number 5. You can record yourself while speaking. You have the best opportunity to speak English when you know somebody that you can talk to. Or, hear me out, you have to use your English at work on a daily basis. However, if that isn't the case, you still stand a great chance of improving your speaking skills simply by talking to yourself. You need to go one step further and record yourself while speaking. All you have to do is find a good topic, a comfortable chair, and just start listening to your voice, especially in a foreign language. At first feels quite bizarre. I'm not gonna lie. I've been recording my voice for 20 years, I think. And, to this day, it's still weird when I'm editing, for example, this podcast, or my social media posts. It's still weird to listen to myself. Most of the time I just finish the editing and never listen to it again. However, when I started and I wanted to improve my speech, I needed to, I needed to listen to me speaking the language and, get used to it. And also you need to learn to take advantage of playing back and analyzing how you talk, right? That's what I did, and I certainly can vouch for that method, right? So it's even more effective if you know a teacher like myself, right? Or maybe somebody who is really advanced in the language, or a native speaker also, who can listen to your recordings, because these people can help you pinpoint mistakes that you are unaware of. Sometimes you can't hear your mispronunciation. Sometimes you don't know that you're making a mistake, and somebody who is more advanced at the language than you will help you, highlight these problems so you can work on them. But even if you don't have access to a teacher like myself or a native speaker, an advanced user, you will still benefit a lot by implementing this. Record yourself and then analyze it and try to catch yourself making mistakes. Alrighty, now tip number 6: use language that you know well. This one's important. Using language that you know well is especially important in official situations. The goal is to communicate. Communication is paramount. And the less complicated sentences are, the less risk of making a mistake is involved. So it will definitely bring more benefits to keep using grammar and vocabulary which you have already mastered and consolidate these every time you have a chance to speak English. Hey, new phrases or grammatical structures need to be revised and practiced a few times before you can use them confidently, right? So practice first in a safe environment. Take a look at the previous tip, right? Okay, so I'm going to talk about many English teachers or so-called English teachers on social media. They keep telling you, hey, stop saying thank you. Say this instead. Are you still saying please? Use this instead. Like, what the heck is wrong with the word important or the word please or the word thank you? Like, it's ridiculous how they tell you not to say something because they consider it basic. I guess they're not familiar with the concept of basic, because basic means popular. Basic means widely used. That's why they're basic, because you hear them all the freaking time. So there's nothing wrong with saying things that are used all the time, because that's actually how the language is spoken. All right, so careful with that. Using basic words or structures correctly sounds more professional than jamming your talk with loads of incorrectly used language that you accidentally reinforce. Hey, there's nothing wrong with saying important instead of saying crucial or paramount. Yeah, I mean, there will be instances or situations in which, you can say paramount and, you seem a little bit more formal or highly educated even, right? But hey, if you say important, people will understand you. And remember, the most important thing here is the message. Conveying the message in your mind. All right. Feeling confident about the choice of grammar and vocabulary while speaking also means less stress. Take your time to move up to the next level of proficiency, also in oral communication. So just remembering about the tips that we talked about will help you speak more correctly. But hey, each person takes a different language learning journey and has different needs. So keep yourself motivated, be understanding towards yourself. We call it self-compassion. You need to be self-compassionate and also appreciate your efforts. Every time you conquer a specific milestone that you set for yourself, just enjoy and, celebrate. Celebrate as much as you can, because learning a language is tough. All right, but so rewarding. Guys, it has been great being with you once again for this, however long this was, probably 15 to 20 minutes, which is my target length. Thank you very much for giving me the most valuable currency nowadays, which is your attention. If you like this podcast and also what I do, don't forget to follow me on social media. Remember, at English with Frank, all together, lowercase, right? English with Frank everywhere. And hey, if you think my content will be beneficial for other people, hey, how about you let your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your friends, your family members know about this podcast so I can help more people. And yes, not gonna lie, probably find that person who is really serious about their English and is interested in hiring me as their one-on-one coach. Or, hey, remember, there is an audio course on pronunciation coming that's only going to be 10 days long, and it's going to be very, very beneficial for you. So if you want to know when it's going to be launched and all of that, follow me on my social media. I'll be sharing that right there. Thank you very much. Hope you like this episode, and hey, give me a message. Tell me what you're thinking of this podcast. Thanks a lot, and I'll see you around. Bye bye.